Knicks Nation, today is Tuesday, the 4th day of June 2024. I hope you're safe and healthy today. I hope your family is safe and healthy and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field, along with the first responders who every day are saving lives. Those also that pick up garbage, keep our places clean, and those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women that are out here trying to help, rescue, deliver, and recover teenagers and children that are the victims of child molestation and pedophilia. People that are also victims of prostitution, child prostitution, pornography, child pornography, human trafficking, and sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators of these things and those who profit from these things, and on the perverts that create the great demand for these things. Finally, double blessings on the homeless. Nearly 600,000 men, women, children, elderly senior citizens, families, veterans, homeless in the United States of America, and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. Today I want to discuss Bodega-44, who is Bojan Bogdanovic. Now, Bojan Bogdanovic is an interesting case. He came to the Knicks from Detroit in a deadline trade this past season. I was calling him bum because it seemed like the way people were talking, him and Burks were going to take minutes from Deuce, which I was not with. And as it turns out, that wasn't the case. And as it also turns out, now his season ended early. He had both ankle and wrist issues. He is 35, and he'll be 35 all next season until next April when he turns 36. He has one more year at $19 million left on his contract. Now, the Knicks have a date at which they have to exercise that. That is June 28th. They have till June 28th to guarantee his 2024-2025 contract because it's not fully guaranteed. So if they decide to pick up his contract, that's $19 million on their books for next season. Now, the way I've looked at this now, looking at the numbers and looking at the way everything is probably going to shake out, as I mentioned, they will re-sign Isaiah Hartenstein. He's going to get his up to $72 million, whatever it is, and the Don's going to structure the deal according to the best way for the Knicks. And the Knicks, because they have his early bird rights, they could go over the cap to sign him to his $72 million. Now, every year here in Florida, where I live, they have what they call rainy season. Rainy season. That's basically the spring. So it starts in April, goes all the way into June. And then you got the summer season in July where it's really, really hot and it's really, really dry. You don't get as much rain. But now it's rainy season, happens every year. Well, same thing with the Knicks. It rains BS every spring. Going from the end of the season into draft and going into July 1st, it rains BS for most of the media outlets. I mean, Knicks for clicks works, so I guess if it works, they keep using it. So if you want clicks, you can rain some rumors and some trade, some BS, and people will buy into it, and it will create discussion among Knicks Nation to whom this BS is like catnip. So that's why it's done every year. Every single year it's the same thing. My problem is I remember the past, and I remember the years, and things repeat themselves, becomes a pattern, and it sticks in my mind. So every year this happens. It's not new, okay? It's just different. Every year is different BS, okay? So this year, the BS is about Hartenstein going to some other team and them not being able to sign Obi and trading Julius Randle. The typical BS that comes every season. That same BS is going to appear next spring. And the only difference is if they keep Bodega, the next spring, that $19 million comes off their books. And that will create space. Even if the Knicks were to win the championship next year, the BS rain will come. And they will have a lot of speculative foolishness coming out there about who the Knicks are going to obtain. It's every season. So that would at least give them $19 million of cap space available to them next year. Also, of course, the total cap numbers are going up each year. And so they're going to have, different things. Right now, the Knicks have the non-taxpayer mid-level exception of $12.8 million. They also have a biannual exception of $4.6 million, and so they got some trade what do you call that? Trade benefit, I don't know what you call it, but they got from Obi Toppin trade, they got to July 8th to use 6.8 million. From the RJ Barrett trade, they got to December 3rd to use 5 million, and from the Malachi Flynn trade, they got to February of next year to use about $4 million. So the thing coming up is the trade exception for Obi Toppin, which is about $7 million, 6.8 million, which they can use between now and July 1st. I don't know how they'll use it, but we'll see. But for Bodega, let's talk about why the Knicks would keep him. Now, I will talk about Precious Achiuwa on another video, but it is possible, based on what I would consider a fair price for Precious this year, it is entirely possible for the Knicks to keep both of them. And, you know, they may pay a little tax, but this is the time. See, you don't want to pay any taxes when you're in rebuild mode. You don't want to pay any taxes when you're just now getting to the playoffs. You're just to the point where you're coming out of rebuild and you're just getting playoffs. But you don't mind paying taxes if you're in win now mode, if it's time for you to win a chip. And that's exactly where the Knicks are right now. Now, teams want to avoid that, even teams that can afford it, like the Knicks and Mr. Dolan, because when you get into tax territory and you're in win now mode, the expectation is to win. Case in point, the Boston Celtics. Case in point, the Milwaukee Bucks. Case in point, the Philadelphia 76ers. All of these teams are taxpayers in win now mode. So when Milwaukee loses or Philly loses, it's a major disappointment because you still got to pay them taxes and you ain't win no chip. Boston is in the same scenario. They're in a paid tax situation, but they're going to the NBA Finals. So that's already a success. But, you know, you want to win the chip. You want to win the chip, okay? So they're in win now mode. So is Dallas. They're in win now mode. And they want this chip. So both of them, even whatever happens, they're both in the championship round, which is considered successful. So the Knicks would be in that position if they started paying taxes. I don't expect the taxes to be too large because they're not going to have to go way over the cap. But they probably have to pay some. Right now, according to Spot Rack, the space that they have before they have to pay taxes, the first apron, is about $25 million. Okay, so that's pretty good. So now you pay Obi and Anunoby, and you pay Hartenstein, and you still got Bodega. You might go over, you know, but it won't be much. So they'll probably be all right. For the second tax apron, which is more expensive, is $36 million. They're not going to go over that. So they're in good shape, I guess I'm saying. So with Bodega, now career-wise, okay, I ain't never bought into any relevance of his 20-point-a-game average in Detroit. It mean nothing. They ain't winning nothing. He just wins chucking, and they still losing. So that don't mean nothing. But what I did buy into during the course of this season, now, for his career, okay, let's look at his career numbers. For his career, Bodega has been very, efficient as a shooter for his career. He's fit well in lineups, like in Utah and with the Nets, even with Washington. The year he was there, they did go to the playoffs. So he has fit well. He's a team guy, obviously. He's an Eastern European. He's a tough kid. He's not a kid anymore. He's 30. He's going to be 35. He's 35. So, but his career average, he averaged 29 minutes per game. He shoots 46% from the floor, 39% from three, and then 86% from the line for his career. Now, he's not going to be doing that with the Knicks. This past season with New York, when he averaged about 19 minutes a game. And that's about what we're talking about for him. He averaged 19 minutes a game. He shot 37% from three. He shot 80% from the line. Now, the exciting thing is he's probably going to do a little better than that on both areas. The three, I expect him to be over 40% from three. I expect him to be over 80% from the line. Very good. And if you put him with a defensive lineup, which the Knicks will, which they did successfully. As a matter of fact, I was looking at his stats, and I was looking at his game stats with the Knicks. And the interesting thing is, there was a point, it was a rough start for him. He had that Philly game that was pretty good, but overall it was a rough start for him. But there was a streak between March and April where the Knicks won 5 straight. They won 5 straight. And during that 5-game winning streak, let me go back here and look at it. During that 5-game winning streak, Bodega played up between 16 and 18 minutes a game. And he averaged about 12 points a game. And that's where you're going to maximize him. That's where you're going to get the maximum out of him. During that streak, he shot probably close to 40 or 45% from 3. That's what we're talking about. So that's where his value is. And he will do that regular season and playoffs. He will do that. So if you can get that production from him, and he would be your 9th guy, that would be excellent. That would be tremendous for the Knicks. Your 9th guy averaging double figures, shooting over 40% from the field, shooting a high rate from the foul line. You surround him with defenders, which they would do with Josh Hart, Deuce McBride, Mitchell Robinson, and then either OG, Devo, whoever else, they will have a tremendous second unit. They will be very dangerous second unit. So you bring that in there with him, and you will have a solid bench, very solid bench. Again, what would happen is, and again, I want to talk more detail about Precious probably tomorrow, but what would happen with him is, what would happen with Precious is he would become situational, but it's almost guaranteed he will end up in the rotation because there's certain things we can count on. OG Anunoby is going to miss at least 10 games. At least. Okay? So he's going to be out 10 games. We hope he don't miss more than 15 games. But this is OG Anunoby. You got to be realistic. If we can get 65 games from him, which I think we can because his money's going to be dependent on him getting 65 games. If we can get 65 games from him, that's great. But that would mean he's going to miss 17 games. Okay? And during those games, you're going to need Precious to come in. All right? That's going to be a situation. So you're going to get 17 games where he's going to miss, and you're going to need Precious. And then we don't know when those 17 might be during the playoff run. It might be right before the playoff. Whenever. Precious is going to come in and play some minutes. Okay? You're going to need him to do that. So you have Precious as your 10th guy, which is not going to, he's going to be situational. And then Bodega will be your 9th guy. He'll be getting somewhere around 16 to 19 minutes per game. Okay? And that's perfect for him. So I like it. I was calling him bum, and I know none of y'all a-holes going to come on. You was calling him bum. Yeah, I was calling him a bum because he was playing like a bum. But now that I think he's getting acclimated to Thibs' system, in fact, I'm sure he is, and then he played very well when surrounded by a defensive unit. And now you're going to have everybody healthy, whereas before he was pressed into services as a starter. Sometimes he's pressed into service to play more minutes than he should have, and that cost the Knicks a little bit. But in that 5-game winning streak that the Knicks had with him, and then there was another streak where they won 5 out of 6 with him. Same situation. His minutes were limited, but he was very efficient and effective for the Knicks, even when he's not hitting a shot, because he's a threat. He's a 40-plus shooter from 3. The defense got to shade toward him because he will hit that shot. And he loves that mid-range also. If you overplay him on the 3, he's very good at getting into the foul line area, just about 12 feet away, and nailing that mid-range shot. So that's very good, and he's also tough. And he's a smart defender. Not a great defender, but he's a smart defender. So you put him with a Mitchell Robinson. You put him with an Isaiah Hartenstein. You put him with an OG Anunoby. He's going to shine. Okay? And that's good. So I am in favor of keeping Bodega and making him the 9th man. Okay? And I would like them to keep Precious as well. And it is entirely possible that they can keep both of those guys. And we'll talk about Precious tomorrow, but let Bodega's contract expire. Use that $19 million whatever kind of way you want to. Next season, we'll deal with that next season. But for now, if he knows he's going to be back with the Knicks and he's going to be the 9th man, he will go into camp knowing his role. He will go into camp knowing what to expect. There'll be no surprise. He'll get the 16, 15 to 19 minutes a game. He'll be on the second unit, and he'll get used to that. A guy 35 needs to know where he's playing and when he's playing. Now, he'll be professional like at 35, and he'll be ready regardless if he's playing or not. But to get him in a role and to know that he knows he's the ninth man, and he knows what minutes he's going to get, and he knows who he's going to be playing with. In this case, Mitchell Robinson, Deuce McBride, Josh Hart, and then one of the starters. He knows that he's going to have that. This will be very good for him, because this maximizes his use with the Knicks, which maximizes the bench. Okay, and that's the thing about Mobb Deep. Mobb Deep, from the beginning under Tom Thibodeau, has been one of the better second units. There were people whining about second unit scoring. And again, what those idiots didn't consider was 4 of their 9 rotation pieces were hurt at different times of the year, sometimes for significant time. So you don't really have your maximum bench. When you do, they're one of the best in the league. Okay, when you do. And you will at the beginning of this season. The Bodega being the 9th man. So I am really advocating for that, and we'll see how it works out. But they could very well keep him. And they got his salary all set. Isaiah Hartenstein signs his. Precious signs his. They bring back the whole band. Again, the only exception is the guy in Brooklyn that we've been talking about. Now, somebody mentioned Alex Caruso. I don't like to bring up every single player like some of y'all do. It don't matter to me. Yeah, Alex Caruso will be a good fit. Not a major acquisition. But he's in the same classification as Azu, Cam Johnson, or Dorian Finney-Smith. They're all in the same classification. If we get one of those guys, there's your 9th guy. Okay? But then you wouldn't have Bodega. They will make this decision before June 28th. You will find out by draft night. You will know what the Knicks are going to do. And they could go, and again, the Don keeps options open. He can draft one guy in the first round, trade the other draft pick. He can trade both of those first round picks with his second round pick. He can trade 2 first round picks, keep the second round pick. He keeps his options open, and he waits to see what the opportunity is as he's getting close to the deadline. One of those opportunities is to draft a young player for the 2 years from now. Okay? Or you can get Alex Caruso, Dorian Finney-Smith, or Cam Johnson to fill in that 9th spot. Any of those guys would do very well in that 9th spot. But for now, if he's going to stay put, we got a nice squad, we got a nice bench, and Bodega will be part of it. Y'all enjoy your Tuesday. Shalom.